Hi guys, this is Coach Joy Maxwell with the Joy of Childcare, and I want to welcome you to Leading with Joy in Childcare. So, tonight's topic is, what type of leader are you? We're going to start this challenge off with the leadership assessment just to kind of give people an idea of what type of leader they are, what type of leader they resonate with more, how they work with people in group settings, and then how people perceive them. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So some of you know my background story. I am a childcare provider and a childcare consultant. I started my childcare business 7 years ago in my home. And from starting my childcare business in my home, my program expanded to a group facility. From a group facility, we went on to open two commercial centers, which one has 59 children and one has 112 children. We have been doing consulting services for the past 4 years for the city of Philadelphia. We not only work with centers, but we work with home child care facilities and group child care facilities. One of our areas of specialty is helping people go through quality rating processes. And that looks like an assessor coming in, doing an environmental rating scale, critiquing your program, seeing what your strengths are, seeing where your areas are that needs improvement, and then helping you put a plan in place to make sure your facility is top notch, that you're offering the best services, that you're using the best practices, that you're giving the staff all the resources and tools they need to be successful, and that your children and your families that you serve are enjoying the process. So that's one of the areas that we really hone in on at the Joy of Childcare. So this 5-day challenge is really in place to help you, if you are a beginner childcare provider, is to help you get a good concept and a strong foundation of where you need to be to start in this process. And if you are a childcare provider that's been in the industry for a while, but you can use some help, you can strengthen some areas, then it's definitely going to be a refresher for you. I'm so glad that you've decided to join me on this journey, and I look forward to your success. So, like I said, tonight's topic is, what type of leader are you? So you should have received a welcome email, and in your welcome email should have been a leadership assessment. So we are going to go over some types of leaders that they are and how they work with groups, and we're going to go through the assessment to see what type of leader you are. So as I'm going through the assessment, I want you guys to keep in mind the leaders that you've had or that you've had to work under in your life so far. I want you to really think about what made these leaders stand out. What made your employer, your boss stand out for you? Were they understanding? Were they helpful? Were they resourceful? Or were they a person who you kind of wouldn't want to be like? Were they dominating? Were they condescending? Did they use smart remarks? Did they belittle you? All of those things I want you to think about while doing this exercise. The last time I taught this class, we went around and we asked some questions like, who's the leader in your life that has stood out for you? And one of the leaders that I always share a story about is my former pastor, Bishop Douglas E. Yancey. And I share a story about him because Bishop Yancey was the type of leader that not only was concerned about your well being and you just coming to church, but he also was concerned about your day to day success. Were you getting your schoolwork done? Were you on time for work? All of those types of things he was always concerned with. And one of the things that really stood out to me, my mother was a single mother raising 3 daughters, and she did her best with making sure we had completed homework assignments and that we were well rounded, that we went to church, we went to summer camp, we went to music lessons, we did activities with our family, but she always wanted to make sure that we were doing our schoolwork. And so one particular evening we had church, and my mom said, well, you know, I think I wanted to go to one of the youth events that night. And she was like, well, just since your homework is done, you can come on and come. And so that particular night we were there, and it had to be going on about 7 p.m., maybe closer to 8 p.m. And we were about to leave the church. And I said, Mom, I forgot one of my assignments. I was supposed to, I think it was like do a title page. It was something that I needed a computer for. And at that time growing up, we did not have a computer. We didn't have the internet. We didn't even have cable in my house. And so I said it to my mom, and she instantly got agitated. Like, Joy, you always wait to the last minute. Why would you wait to the last minute and just tell me? School's in the morning. We don't have a computer. And now we have to get home. You're going to have to do it by hand. And I was pouting and I was upset. And Bishop Yancey was actually leaving with his family, his wife and his children. He was locking up the church, and he heard my mom kind of fussing at me. And he said, what's wrong? And she said, Joy had an assignment that she didn't do, and she's just telling me about it. And now we have to rush home and try to do this assignment. We don't have a computer. We don't have a printer. And she's going on and on and on and on. And I see my bishop look at his wife, and he tells her, go ahead and take the kids home. I'll be on my way. He said, Sister Lorraine, Joy, let's go up to my office. And he made sure I got that assignment done. He was like, no, I mean, I know she waited to the last minute. She's a kid. I had to be all of about 10 or 11 years old. And he was like, we're going to get this assignment done. And I think in my head now that was like my cop out. Like, yes, we don't have a computer at home. I'm not going to be able to do this assignment. And my pastor and my mom was kind of like, my mom was a little frustrated with me, but my pastor was like, nope, she's going to get it done. And I'm going to stay with you guys until she gets it done. And I can appreciate him for that. I can appreciate him for always being someone that was a listening ear. He always used to tell people, I want you to come to me. If it's a problem going on, I want you to come with me having already thought about solutions. I want us to work through this process together and get to the solution. And that stands out for me. That stands out for me, for him being a leader, for him being a community person, for him being a family person. All of those things stand out for me. I've worked with some leaders that weren't the best, that did not create the most conducive work environment. The tension was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. People felt the tension when they got to work. People actually dreaded that job. I've worked for people like that. It has not been the best experience. And so because of that, you want to make sure when you go down this journey, you want to make sure that you are creating the most conducive, nurturing, loving, supporting environment possible. You want to make sure that people not only know how much you know as their childcare leader, but they know that you care about them. You care about the children that you're servicing. You care about the staff that is working with the children that you're servicing, and you care about the big picture. I tell people all the time, when I originally went to college for education, and I went for early childhood education, then I went back for elementary education, then I went back for educational leadership, I never started this journey for the income. I started this journey for the impact. I knew I was called to be the answer to some mother's prayers. I knew I was called to touch children, to enrich their lives, to give them firm foundations in the educational arena. I knew that. And so because of that, my mindset was totally different going into childcare. My mindset was like, listen, I've worked for the school district. I've worked for corporate America. I want to make sure that I am the type of leader that people enjoy working with and working under. And so that's the culture that I've created for my team, my childcare team. And that's the culture, if I had to give anybody advice, that's the type of culture that I would advise for you to create, because children are already little people who it takes a lot of patience for us to work with. And we don't want to have disgruntled employees with little people that already need tons and tons of love and affection and attention and patience and tenderness. And so if we are creating a atmosphere that's kind of, stuffy and uncomfortable, and you don't really want to be there, then the children will pick up on that, and you'll be able to tell, you know what, I'm feeling the environment out. I'm feeling the vibes of the facility right now. Something's off. I've always known when there was an issue brewing or something was going on in my childcare facilities, because when I go in, the way I greet my teachers and the way they greet me back is the tone of our day. I can tell what's going on. If I come in and say, "Good morning, everybody, how are you doing?" And they say, "Good morning, Miss Joy, how are you?" And I'm coming in their class, I'm giving out high fives. And then I get to that teacher that's like, "Hey, Miss Joy, I know something's going on." And so you want to be able to check the temperature of your facility at all times, because that's the type of leader that you should be. You should kind of pick up on what's going on with people. So we're going to get into this leadership assessment, because I think this is really cool. So the first page of the leadership assessment are self-reflection questions. And my coach once told me that when you are becoming a leader, you focus on developing you. However, when you become a leader, you focus on developing your team. Okay. So the first couple of questions are going to be about self-reflection questions: who you are, where you are, what are you doing? Okay. So the first question says, do I have a game plan for personal growth? I want you to think about these questions and I want you to answer them. And then you could jump into our Facebook group and we can have some dialogue about this. I'm going to put a post in the Facebook group tonight. Okay. Am I the leader of that plan? So I have a game plan for personal growth. And then the next question is asking you, are you the leader for that game plan? The third question says, am I willing to change to keep growing, even if it means giving up my current position if I am not experiencing growth? Are you willing to change if you are not currently experiencing growth? Number 4, is my life an example for others to follow? Number 5, am I willing to pay the price to become a great leader? And guys, I don't want you to get confused with this question. That question has absolutely nothing to do with money. It might have a few things that you could pay for, but really, that question talks about sacrifice. It talks about, are you ready to buckle down and really sacrifice, put the work in to be a good leader in childcare? Okay. Then we're going to go into some questions that's kind of going to just give us the way that we're going to be able to score ourselves on what type of leader we are. So the first question says, I influence others. And then your answers are never, seldom, sometimes, usually, or always. Okay. I have self-discipline. Same answers. Never, seldomly, sometimes, usually, always. I have a good track record. I have strong people skills. And these are questions that we're not like pondering over for very long. You're thinking quick about this. Are you do you have a good track record? Do you have strong people skills? Do you have the ability to solve problems? And a good child care leader always has to solve problems. Do you accept the status quo? Do you see the big picture? Are you able to visualize the big picture? Do you have the ability to handle stress? Although those little faces are so adorable, there are some stressful days in childcare. Do you understand people? Do you display a positive spirit or a personality? Are you willing to take responsibility? Are you free from anger? Are you willing to make changes? Do you have integrity? That's a good one. Do you have integrity? Do you have strong values? What are your own personal core values? Are they strong values? Do you have any core values? Are you able to see what has to be done next? And are you willing to do it? Are you accepted as a leader by others? Do you have the ability and the desire to keep learning? Do you have mannerisms that draw people into you? Do you have a willingness to serve others? Do you have the ability to bounce back from problems when they arise? Do you have the ability to develop other leaders? Will you take initiative? So, once you've answered all of those questions, you want to look on the next page and you want to look at the key for your assessment. You want to pay more attention to your qualities as addressed by the characteristics than to the specific score that you receive. Okay? The grading scale is on the second page from the assessment. And like I said, we will talk about that in the chat in our Facebook group. Okay? So I hope from you guys taking this leadership assessment that it kind of shines a light on what type of leadership skills you think you currently have, and what areas could you use some extra development in. The one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about today is that you want to make sure that you are not a reactive leader. What do you mean, Coach Joy? Reactions, like you react to everything. You know, someone does something, you react with oh, I'm going to do this, or now I'm going to do that. You want to find yourself being proactive. You don't want to be reactive. Okay. You don't want to just develop a policy or just develop a rule because someone did something and now this is your way of responding. Okay. You want to make sure that before problems arise, before conflict comes into play, before someone misunderstood what you said, you already have this stuff in place. Okay. I tell people all the time, people don't follow what you say. They don't. They don't do what you expect them to do. They do what you inspect. Okay. So what you follow up on, what you make sure you've had a verbal conversation with, you make sure that you've put it in writing, and then you make sure that you have some type of checkpoint system. Those are the policies that people do better. When I first started out in childcare, I had a staff handbook, but it was a staff handbook that a coach sold me, and she told me, like, well, this pretty much is what it is in childcare, and so you can read through it and you can change what you need to change, but this is how it should be. And so I took the handbook and I did read through it, but I always knew how to take care of children. I didn't know how to manage people. And so I went through the handbook and I looked it over and I made sure that the ratios lined up with my ratios in Philadelphia. And I made sure that, this was in place and that was in place for my center. And I kind of slapped the logo on it, printed it out, and gave it out to my staff. It probably was 2 years later that I really sat down and realized this handbook is not working for the group of people that I'm leading. And so I had to get specific about everything that happened in my childcare program, from how we open the door in the morning. How do we greet our parents? When our parents walk in, do we say, "What's up? How you doing?" Or do we say, "Good morning, welcome. How are you today?" Do we greet the children first, or do we greet the parents first? Do we call the parents by first name? Do we call them mom and dad? Um, do we sleep at nap time on the floor with the kids? No, we don't. Do you have a policy that says that? Because if I come from a daycare that, as long as the kids were asleep, we took a nap too, then that's what I'm going to continue to do. But if I come from a center, or you now tell me at your center, no, 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 at nap time, we ensure that the children are safe. We ensure that there are no safety hazards around, and we ensure that our lesson plans and our classroom is tidy and ready for the next shift. If you set that standard, then that's what I'm going to do. So some of the things that I wound up having to put policies in place for and put, in my handbook, some of those things did come by trial and error. But like I've always heard, trial and error is a good teacher until it's not. And so I tell people now, invest in your business from the start. Invest from the start, getting a strong foundation so that some of the pitfalls and falls that other people have experienced, you don't have to experience. You also want to make sure that you are able to clearly see where you want to go, how you want to be, what type of leader you want to be, how you want your team to respond to you. You want to start visualizing that now. If you are already in business and you've been in the childcare industry for a while, then you need to pause and reset. Never be afraid to do a reset. Never be afraid to go back to the drawing board and say, I've had staff meetings before where I said, everybody, I have an announcement to make. I know for the past couple of months we've been doing this, but I want everybody to take out your magic eraser and erase all of that. Erase all those memories, erase the idea, erase the concept. It was wrong. I apologize. I need to reteach you some things. And I've had staff look at me like, "Oh, Miss Joy is crazy." But they could respect my transparency, and they could respect the fact that I had integrity enough to apologize, to realize that we were doing some things wrong or maybe not the right way, and reteach them. And I'll give you an example. When I first got into the quality rating program in Philadelphia, I picked up diaper changing practices from off the internet. And it wasn't anything particularly wrong with the way that we were doing the diaper practices. It just wasn't the best policy as it pertains to our Keystone Stars program. And excuse me. And so we were, changing diapers, wiping with the baby wipe, folding the baby wipe, wiping again, like, mom would at least get 2 wipes out the baby wipe. And we went to a class for Keystone Stars, and they were like, no, 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 no. You wipe once with a baby wipe, and you don't want to cross contaminate. And once you wipe with that baby wipe, you discard it. And then once you're done wiping, you close the diaper up, seal the baby's diaper. You make sure that you already removed the soil diaper, and then you want to wipe the baby's hands with a baby wipe, and you want to wipe your hands with a baby wipe. And so at the beginning of the demonstration, the lady took out like 7 baby wipes. And I had always been taught, like, listen, waste not, want not. So we don't use all those baby wipes. We could use about 3 baby wipes during the changing. And so the way that she taught it, it wasn't necessarily the right way or the wrong way. It was a different way. And because we were adapting to this program, it was a practice that we had to adapt. And so my staff had been used to us doing it a different way. And I had to reteach them a concept. Like, listen, I apologize. I don't want this to be confusing, but this is now the way we're going to do this diaper changing. And to be very honest, that's probably one of the reasons why we stopped taking infants in our program, because our quality rating program had a lot of stipulations and a lot of extra steps when it came to infants. And it definitely was for best practices. It just was at that moment, it really wasn't the best practice for my particular program. Okay. So there are going to be times that you're going to have to go back to your team and apologize or revamp some things. And you have to be comfortable with doing that. You have to be honest. You have to have integrity, and you have to be okay with doing that. Okay. So the other thing that I want to talk to you guys about briefly is, once you have some of these core things in place, once you have your vision statement, once you have your mission statement, once you have your core values in place, you want to make sure that you are always presenting opportunities where you are modeling for your staff. You want to model for the people that you are leading. You want to show them good leadership. You want to always remember that these people are watching you, that they're looking up to you, that they trust you. They trust your judgment. They're working for you, and they're kind of putting all their eggs in one basket. And if people can trust you with that process, you want to honor that process, and you want to make sure that you lead by example. So I try to tell people that, yes, I am a owner who I used to be an owner director, and now I am kind of just a owner slash assistant director. I've kind of pulled back, but I've had that ability because I've worked alongside my team. They see how I've handled situations. They see how I've handled conflict. They've seen how I've handled disruptive children or disgruntled parents, and we worked through that. And so now, because I was the type of leader that was very vocal, very honest, very open, I am also the leader that models. I will get in the kitchen and model. This is how we serve plates. This is how we plate the food. This is how we heat food. This is how we wipe down the kitchen. This is how we clean the bathroom. This is how we toilet. This, the children, help them, with toileting. This is how we conduct a lesson. This is how we conduct circle time. I never mind coming in the classroom to model any concept, any skill, because you have to let your staff know, in the group that you're leading, you have to let them know, I don't mind working alongside you to get the mission done. Although I am your leader, I am the person that is, leading you and giving you these skills and concepts, but I don't mind coming and rolling up my sleeves, getting my hands dirty, kicking off the stilettos, putting some flats on, and getting the work done. So you want to make sure that your team always knows that you're ready to not only lead them to success, but model the way to success as well. This has been day one of Leading with Joy in Childcare. Thank you so much for joining me. I want you to definitely get into our Facebook group if you have any additional questions, if you have any comments, if you have any feedback about tonight, and we're definitely going to continue this conversation. Thank you so much and have a phenomenal evening.